Hello again YouTube, welcome back to another video. In my last video that I uploaded, hopefully earlier today if this goes well, I quickly talked about some patch changes and it was my new arcane build, and a couple of people I know said they'd quite like to see a quick patch review video, so I'm going to go through the main things they put in this latest patch which came out like a couple of days ago now. I've played around with some of the things they said in this and experienced it myself, so I'm going to try and give my opinions on what they actually have done, changed, and what they mean, and just let you know what's going on, what you can expect from it, and if it is as good as what it should be, which is brilliant. So these are the major changes right here. We're going to look at some of these first. So the top one here says, added a function to record an icon and the name of an NPC on the map when you encounter that NPC, which they have. So if you go to a site of grace with an NPC near it, it'll have the name of the site of grace and the name of the nearby NPC near it. Or it's an NPC in the middle of nowhere, it will have a little icon, and when you hover over that icon, it will just say the NPC's name, like Finger Reader Crone, for example. There's a few of them dotting about, I've noticed. So that is working. That's a really good quality of life change that a lot of people could have done with asking for. They've added a new NPC. I've not had time to look into this yet, so I've not found him yet, but NPC Jarbarn, apparently. There's some new quest phases for the following NPCs, which I think is just more steps in the quests, if I'm correct. And obviously some more dialogue to go with it, which is good. They've added some summonable NPCs in multiple situations, so as you know, if you've done the first boss that, oh god, what's it called, Margit, and you could summon that sorcerer, I think they've done that to some more areas to give you other people, a bit newer players, a bit more of a hand, which, another quality of life change, it can't be bad. Increase the number of patterns of objects players can imitate when using Mimic Veil, so it basically means you can change it to more stuff with a Mimic Veil. I don't PvP a lot and I don't use it a lot, but suppose it's better than not being done. Added some night background music for some open field area. Again, not really noticed that, but suppose it can't help. Fixed a bug that prevented summoned NPCs from taking. See, I noticed this. There is certain boss battles where again you can summon obviously NPCs, like again with Margit and the Radam boss, and there's a couple of other bosses where you could summon NPCs instead of other players. And I did actually get this, where we had some unkillable guy fighting a boss with me, which scuffed it a bit, so it's kind of good that they sorted that, I suppose. Fixed a bug that sometimes prevented the player from obtaining an item after a boss battle. I never had an issue, I always got the items should have got, but again, nice little quality of life. Fixed a bug that causes dialogue to be skipped when talking to NPCs and using custom key configurations. I use default keybinds and I use a PS4 controller, so that doesn't really affect me. Fixed a bug that causes the player to freeze when riding. Now, if this is the one I think it is, I had this weird bug where when I was on my horse, my horse would carry on going where I was going, and my character model would just be stuck in midair, and I had to Alt F4 the game down and reload it. That was a really annoying bug, and that hasn't happened since the patch, so I guess that's working. Fixed a bug that causes arcane scale incorrectly for some weapons. Now, this is big. Watch the last video I put up before this one about the OP arcane build. This is massive. This has made so many more builds viable, especially the spear you get from Mogwin, as if you go and watch my last video you'll know it is insane and it is very useful. In a situation where the player cannot obtain more than 2 talisman pouches, added the talisman pouch to the Twin Maiden Hush Shop lineup. So that's really good. You could actually unknowingly sort of cockblock yourself out of getting like the third and any more talisman pouches through, so I'm not going to spoil much, but through certain choices in the game and like things happening if you did things wrong without knowing they were wrong, like air quotes. So that's a really good quality of life change that's going to help a lot of people, I suppose. Fixed a bug that prevented the user from warping sites of grace from the map at the end of the game. I've not had any issues with that. Fixed a bug that prevented the player from moving to the next area after the battle with a fire giant. So I think this was, you fight the fire giant and it's got like a grey wall, like it's like a boundary, like it has some of the bosses. I don't think that was going away for some people, I think is the issue, so that's good to have been fixed. I didn't have an issue with it, but that's good. Fixed a bug which causes some weapons of incorrect steering after strengthening. Again, that was a lot with arcane weapons. Arcanes, you'd strengthen them with your smithing stones, and some of them did less damage than before, which was bizarre. So that fixed a bug which causes some weapons to not use stat scaling. Again, that mixed with the incorrect stat scaling and the arcane scuffed arcane weapons completely. So these three, this arcane scaling, this and this all together are brilliant. They're the ones I were really hoping would get sorted. Fixed hang-ups, insert, don't know what that means, I'll be honest. I've never had an issue with that. Fixed a bug which incorrectly displays multiplayer area boundary when playing online. I've never had an issue with that, but I don't really play multiplayer a lot online. I go out with my mates and dick about a bit in boss fights, but I don't really roam about, so... this was right. They fixed a bug that allows players to activate the Erdtree Great Shield's weapon skill without absorbing an attack using a special combination of item and incantation. So the weapon skill for the Erdtree Great Shield is like, if you notice when you fight the first guy on the arse at the start, the Erdtree Sentinel, he does that shield. If you hit him with a spell, it reflects it. Well, later on in the game, you get that shield, and it was actually possible to sort of self-inflict like poison damage and certain like self-debuff like poison and other effects on you, and then use that ability and sort of use it as like a fucking machine gun and cheese people with it. So you could just poison yourself and then cast the poison that you'd put on yourself off your shield, and really it was a proper OP like bug. So that's good that they've got rid of that, I suppose. Fixed a bug which causes Fire's Deadly Sin incantation. Never used it, so I don't know. Fixed a bug with the Ashawar Determination and Mornight's Resolve, where the damage buff will also apply to other weapons without skill. So that was what a lot of speedrunners were using. There was a buff that makes the weapon more powerful, but you could pull the weapon out, activate the Ashawar, which buff for that weapon, and then pull out another weapon, and that buff would still be active. So they've got rid of that, which is... I mean, speedrunners are going to hate it, and if you did use it to cheese, it is annoying, but it shouldn't have happened, so I'm glad for that. Adjusted the visual effects of the Unseen Farm spell. That's still not working. The Unseen Farm is meant to be the invisibility spell. And this is, I think they're saying this has made it so you look more invisible, but it still doesn't really work that well, to be fair. Deleted the ragged armor set from the game, which was mistakenly obtainable in a previous patch. I didn't know anything about this, but God, I suppose if you got rid of it. Fixed a bug that causes some hostile NPCs to drop Furl Calling Finger Remedies. Again, this doesn't really matter because Furl Calling Finger Remedies are incredibly easy to buy and craft, so it doesn't really matter. Fixed a bug that causes incorrect effects to play in some situations. Never really noticed. Fixed a bug which causes visual animation and hitboxes to not be displayed correctly in some maps. Never had an issue with that myself, but good quality of life. Fixed bug which causes incorrect visual and behaviour. Now this is good because there's some enemies that had just typical like NPC glitching you see in games, basically, where they weren't doing the right things, so that's good. Fixed a bug that causes incorrect stat parameters for some armour. Something I didn't notice, but again, that's, I suppose, another really good quality of life. Text fixes, I'm guessing this means like translations, because it's a Japanese creator. Maybe. I didn't really notice any, but I don't really pay great attention to text in the game anyway, so other important, various other stuff. Balance changes. Increase the drop weight smithing stone for some enemies, so I think this has increased it, so you can get regular, there's two types of smithing stones, there's smithing stones and somber smithing stones. Somber smithing stones, the weapons can only go up to a +10, and that is literally, you just need, there's somber smithing bones that are +1 through 9, and then you get the ancient dragon, which get you to +10. But regular weapons can go to +25, and it was a bit of a grind to be able to get the amount of smithing stones you needed, so this is really nice. And again, they've added the smithing stone to some early game shop lineups, so these two have just made it more feasible to upgrade your normal weapons easier, which is great. Increased your shield's effectiveness. Fantastic. I only just started using shields, but I suppose I picked a good time. Increase the damage for all offensive crackspot items. This is good because, again, not a lot of people use them, but any throwable item, like you can make fire bombs and poison bombs and holy bombs and stuff using the crackpots. Just increase the damage for all of it across the board, so that's a nice little buff, I suppose. Increase the damage for... Never use them for spark, aromatic and poison spray mist. I've never used them, but increasing the damage is sweet, I suppose. Increase the effect duration, uplifting aromatic and iron jar. Again, I've never used them, but more buffs for the lesser used items. I suppose that's why they're doing it. Maybe get some more use. Increased HP healing for Torrent when using the following items: Roller Raisins, Sweet Raisins. Now this is really good. I always use the Roller Raisins because they're really easy to craft. And in things like Verdan's boss fight, and when you're trying to like maybe kill some giants, Roller Raisins are really good items to have on your, like your hotbar, like your D-pad down. I have them on there. But before this patch, it felt like you had to spam so many to have any effect. Recently, I've noticed that is a big change. That is a really nice quality of life that I've noticed. Reduced the FP consumption and increased the damage of the following sorceries: Glintstone, Comet Shard, Comet, and Night Comet. Now this is really good because these were like really underwhelming damage spells for the amount of magic they use, so there was no point in using them compared to the other spells in the game. So this is, I think they're trying to balance all the spells together so you can actually have more of a variety, which is nothing but good again. Increase the damage of the following sorceries: Gravity, Well, Collapse, so that's the same idea as up there. They were not worth using really for the amount of damage they were doing for the FP they were using, so they've upped the damage again, gives you more of a reason to use different spells and sorceries. Decrease the FP consumption of the following sorceries: Star Shower, Rock Blaster, Gavel of Heimer, Founding Razor Star, Stars of Ruin, Great Blade Phalanx, Magic Downpour, Loretta's Great Bow, Loretta's Mastery, Carrying Great Sword, Carrying Person, and Shard Spiral. So again, this is just decreasing the amount of mana you need to use the lesser used spells to give you more variety. Nothing but good. Raised projectile speed and range with the Great Glintstone Shard. Again, really good buff to the lesser used magic. Decreased Ash of War, Hoarfrost Stomp's damage and increased its cast time. This is massive. This is what a lot of people were using as speedrunners again. It was overpowered. It was insane. People were like, just go and watch the speedrunner Distortion 2 did. He beat the game in like 26 minutes, I think it is, and the damage, you were just like the Elden Beast at the end of the game. He just killed no problem using the Hoarfrost Stomp. So that's good that they've nerfed that because it was ridiculous. Increased Ash of War, Bloody Slash's self-inflict damage, or slightly lowering the damage and increasing. I didn't even know it did self-inflict damage. So, I mean, I suppose it's a guess they've increased it. That's just, again, making the more... This entire patch is about making the OP spells less OP and the lesser used spells, and trying to bring everything into the sort of mid-range, which is good. It just basically means they're trying to stop having just a meta of this, and this. You can have a bit more variety and a bit more fun while still have a viable build, which is nothing but good. Decreased weapon skill, Sword of Night and Flame's damage. Now, this is the big one I tested. My Sword of Night and Flame was at plus 10, and I had 63 intelligence on the build I was using it for, I believe. And I tested it, and if you've got a plus 10 Sword of Night and Flame and the intelligence to go with it, it's still a really good weapon. Now, the normal weapon, like just using it as a slash, hasn't been affected at all. As this says, the weapon skill, so I had the fire attack and the sort of, I call it the Kamehameha, the fucking blue beam thing. Now, at high level, plus 10 with 6, they're still really good. They are nowhere near what they used to be, though. I have respec since to fuck about with the arcane things. Again, watch my last video. It's still a good weapon. It's still a really good weapon. It's still got 2 different attacks, and it's still worth using. It's just not overpowered. It's not absolutely insane anymore, which is good, because it was ridiculous. Before this patch, the Sword of Night and Flame was just... You could get it pretty much start of the game. Well, you had to get through the castle, didn't you, to get it from... Yeah, but as soon as you got past the first castle, where you beat Margit and Godfrey, you could get it, and then the game was just a breeze without after it. So I'm glad it seems to have been numbed down quite a bit. Increased the FP consumption and lower duration Ash of War Barricade Shield. Again, this just made it unkillable. This was like it does what it says on the tin, so it's good that you can't do that for as long, basically. Changed FP consumption timing of Ash of War Prelate's Charge. I've never used that one. And the FP consumption timing, I'm not sure what that means completely, but it'll be another nice bounce, I suppose. Right, this decreased the damage of the spirit summoned when using the item Mimic Tear Ash and changed the spirit's behaviour pattern. So, this was the Mimic Tear. Again, I've got a video up on my channel showing you how to get it. It's still worth getting. The Mimic Tear Spirit Summon, it doesn't use FP, it takes your health off, and it creates a clone of your character. And it'll use the same weapons, the same armour, the same weapon arts you've got. And it was really strong. Like, again, before this patch, you had level 10 Sword of Night and Flame with the Spirit Summon. It was ridiculous. Now, I've still been using the Spirit Summon. I've had a mess about with this, and it's still good. The damage decrease doesn't really matter because you're using your Spirit Summon more just to take the attention of the boss away from you. It is a noticeable damage reduction. Now, as for the behaviour patterns, the things I've noticed personally, this is the last big one on this list. It's behaviour pattern personally for me. You used to be able to do it, so when you've got your flask of tears, your Spirit Summon would use that once to heal. It'd have 1 flask as a heal, and that was it. You know, you could cheat. There is the rotted meat. I can't remember what it's called. Something like the rotted meat dumpling or a meat dumpling or something that you can consume that will slightly give you poison build up but restore your health. Now, what you could do is put 3 of these in your pouch where you're in the same thing as your flask, where your flasks are, and your Mimic Summon would use all 3 of them, whereas it would only use one of your flasks. So that was like and it wouldn't get the poison build up. So it was like a cheesy way of getting your Spirit Summon to get more health. Now, I've noticed it's doing that a lot less, as well as it uses your weapon arts a lot less. So like your Sword and Lightning Flame, it's not using the spells nearly as much if you're using it that way. Or your what's it called? Bloodhound's Fang is another one that mine used quite a lot when I had mine on. It's not using that quite as much. So it's just making it not less aggressive. It's just a nice little balance of trying to have 2 overpowered or meta weapons being blasted at a boss at the same time. It's all good because you could cheese some bosses. If you had the right loadout on that Mimic Tier, the game wasn't even difficult. It was an absolute joke. So, I mean, I'm glad about this as much as it's making the game harder. And people, I use it. You can still use your Mimic Summon, and there's still plenty of other summons that are decent out there. There's Oleg the Headless, I think it's called, is a really good summon. And your Spirit Summon's still useful. It's not worthless. It's not nerfed it into the ground. It's just made its normal attacks do slightly less damage. And I've noticed it doesn't heal as much if you were using that cheese, and it doesn't use its weapon arcs as much. So you can't cheese bosses all right, really. So it's just making you work a little bit harder, and it works more like a normal NPC or a normal summon, which you can't complain about. I think it's fair enough. It's not made a massive change, but it's made enough of a change that you can't just cheese bosses. So, you know, I personally, I don't have any complaints with it. I've not noticed anything ridiculous for it. And then there it just says other enemy and weapon balance changes. So this will just be slight tweaks in normal enemies you see walking about, and like normal weapons that are just slight little changes. I've not noticed anything major, really. But other than that, I think that's everything in the list. It is. So that was my quick rundown of it. There's a lot of just quality of life changes and minor things you probably wouldn't notice. I mean, the amount of these I haven't noticed because I don't do the stuff is fair enough. But overall, the way that they're trying to balance the game back into like a mid-range of the buffing, the lesser used spells, nerfing, the Sword of Night and Flame, that is brilliant. It's good because there were certain cheeses. The Half Stomp cheesy. So I personally am glad of what they've done, making the game. Yeah, it's making the game more difficult. It's not. It's stopping people cheesing the game, which is fair enough. Like, I get that. So yeah, that's it. That's my views on it. All around, I think this is a brilliant patch. I think this is exactly what they needed. I would have liked to see a bit of a nerf to the Moonveil Katana. I don't think that was mentioned in any of this. The Moonveil Katana would have been a nice little, needed nerfing a little bit maybe. But we'll see. That might come. And it might. Other than that, I think they've nailed everything. I think everything that they needed changing really has changed. The game feels more stable as well on PC. I don't know like this, where it says all the performance improvement. I don't know what it's like on console for you guys. But on PC, the frame rates were up and down like a fucking yo-yo all the time. It has been a little bit smoother for me. There's still issues in certain areas and certain boss fights. But overall, the game does feel a lot smoother. The balances are nice. And I think they've done a really good job. So, hopefully, you all enjoy this new patch as much as I have. I'll be trying to make some more videos very soon. So, again, if this video was useful, please leave a like down below. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you can imagine. I appreciate all the support we've been getting over the last month or so of this. It's been ridiculous to say I've just started out. So I will thank you all, and I will see you in the next video.